Hello everyone, if you're a man in your 60s or beyond, this message is especially for you. Today we're diving into an issue that is often ignored, yet quietly affects millions of men as they age. It's about a daily habit that seems ordinary, but in reality, it speeds up the growth of your prostate. Many men notice changes like waking up several times at night to urinate, having a weaker stream, or carrying around that irritating sense that the bladder never completely empties. While these are often dismissed as normal signs of aging, the truth is that in many cases they are linked to choices we make every single day. The encouraging part is that these choices can be changed, and when they are, the pressure on the prostate reduces, urinary function improves, and overall well-being strengthens. No need for expensive supplements or extreme diets. It's a matter of shining a light on something so simple yet powerful that you can start applying it right away. Most men believe prostate trouble comes only with age, but deep inside the body, there's usually something else at work, something far more controllable than just the calendar. Think of your habits as drops of water dripping into a glass. Each day's choices are like those drops. Over time, the glass fills until one day it overflows, and suddenly symptoms appear. Frequent night trips, hesitation before urination begins, the sensation of incomplete emptying. These are not random misfortunes. They're quiet warnings that a hidden trigger has been active for years. And the surprising part, that trigger isn't rare, it isn't complicated, and you don't need a medical degree to recognize it. It's simply a repetitive behavior that feels harmless in the moment but steadily builds inflammation and disrupts hormone balance around your prostate tissue. Consider your daily rhythm from morning until night. Patterns guide everything. How you start your day, what you eat, how long you sit, what you drink, and how you unwind in the evening. Within those patterns lies a force shaping your internal health as surely as weather shapes the land. Scientific studies consistently show that eating processed foods loaded with sugar and salt, combined with spending long hours inactive, raises insulin levels, disturbs testosterone metabolism, and increases chronic inflammation. That chemical environment sends direct growth signals to your prostate cells. Over the months and years, the gland slowly enlarges. At first, it doesn't hurt and it doesn't seem serious. It simply becomes part of your normal. By the time it begins interfering with daily comfort, the habit behind it has been running in the background for so long you don't even notice it anymore. Like a constant background noise you've trained yourself to ignore. But once you expose this invisible habit, everything changes. Picture this: you spend most of your day seated at a desk or on the couch, snacking on quick, processed foods, sipping on sugary drinks, then collapsing into your chair at night because you're drained. None of those actions feels extreme on its own, but together they form a silent trigger that fuels prostate growth. They drive your body toward insulin spikes, raise estrogen activity relative to testosterone, and encourage hormonal conversions that stimulate prostate tissue. That's why men of the same age often experience completely different levels of urinary health. Genetics play a role, but the greater difference lies in accumulated lifestyle behaviors. Now imagine swapping even one processed meal for whole foods filled with antioxidants and fiber. Imagine breaking up long sitting periods with short walks or stretches. Picture reducing your intake of alcohol and sweetened beverages. These may sound like small changes, but physiologically they alter everything. They bring down inflammation markers in your blood, help regulate hormones, and improve blood flow to the pelvic area. Over time, those improvements remove the very fuel the hidden trigger relies on. As a result, the prostate stops receiving constant growth signals. Men who make these adjustments often find themselves waking up fewer times at night, regaining a stronger urine flow, and feeling renewed energy simply by addressing the routines they once thought were too ordinary to matter. Most people believe only major interventions work, but the truth is that the prostate responds not to dramatic one-time actions, but to steady small improvements. That's why the key is to frame this hidden trigger not as something exotic or mysterious, but as a daily pattern you already practice, and then show how to reverse it. At the cellular level, prolonged sitting lowers the activity of enzymes that help the liver deactivate harmful hormones. Consuming refined carbs spikes insulin, which indirectly raises a growth factor known to stimulate prostate tissue. Chronic dehydration concentrates urine, irritating the bladder and compounding symptoms. Each of these may seem minor, but stacked together, they create a perfect storm. To keep this clear, think in pictures. Imagine your prostate as a sponge under pressure from hormones. It swells, holding more than it should. Or think of inflammation like a small fire smoldering in the background. Each processed snack or hour of sitting throws more fuel on the flames. Now picture the opposite: healthier meals, movement, hydration. They act like water poured over the fire, slowly cooling it until the tissue calms down. These mental images make biology easy to grasp and easier to remember. Later, when you reach for a sugary drink, you'll recall the fire and reconsider. The goal isn't to make anyone feel guilty. It's about showing how much control still exists even after decades of routine. Many men over 60 have lived under the weight of work stress and convenience choices for years. It's not their fault. But now, with awareness, they can act. The hidden trigger is not destiny, it's simply a pattern. Once you change the pattern, you change the outcome. That shift from inevitability to possibility is what gives hope. Every choice, from the food you eat to the way you sit, move, drink, and sleep, sends signals that either calm or stress the prostate. Symptoms that appear suddenly are really the results of thousands of tiny decisions over decades. But that also means that new decisions, even small ones, can start changing the direction. Imagine beginning your morning not with dehydration and processed food, but with water, calm breathing, and whole nutrition. Your hormones and circulation receive a very different signal. Imagine breaking up hours of sitting with a few minutes of walking. Suddenly, blood is flowing, oxygen is moving, waste products are clearing. Picture replacing fried foods and refined carbs with vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Oxidative stress drops, hormones stabilize, and cells protect themselves from unnecessary growth. Every one of these steps is small, but together they shape the internal climate of your prostate. Instead of a gland constantly under pressure, it becomes part of a balanced system. The message is simple: your prostate health isn't just about aging. It's about the instructions you give your body every single day. Change the instructions and your body begins to change the outcome. When we talk about the prostate, many men think of it only when symptoms become impossible to ignore. But the truth is, the prostate reacts long before the discomfort shows up. Deep inside, your cells are constantly receiving messages from what you eat, drink, and how you live. These messages act like instructions, telling the gland either to remain balanced or to grow unnecessarily. That's why two men of the same age can live completely different realities. One spends his nights waking up 4 or 5 times, struggling with weak flow and frustration, while the other sleeps peacefully, feeling light and energized in the morning. The difference is not luck, but lifestyle signals that accumulated over time. Let's uncover one of the biggest drivers of this hidden process. Excess sugar intake is more than a sweet indulgence. It sets off a chain of reactions in your body that quietly burden the prostate. When sugar floods your bloodstream, insulin levels rise. Elevated insulin doesn't only affect weight and energy, it also influences hormones related to prostate growth. It increases the activity of enzymes that convert testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, a stronger form of the hormone that directly stimulates prostate cells. Over time, this creates an environment where the gland expands beyond what is normal. Combine that with chronic inflammation caused by refined carbs and unhealthy fats, and you get the perfect recipe for discomfort. But here's the encouraging part: the same way sugar acts like fuel for unwanted growth. Whole foods filled with antioxidants and natural fiber act like brakes. They reduce oxidative stress, lower insulin spikes, and balance hormone conversion. For example, when you choose fruits like berries instead of pastries or vegetables instead of fries, your blood sugar stabilizes. That stability prevents the hormonal surges that feed prostate enlargement. Even hydration plays a part. Drinking enough water helps dilute the urine, soothing the bladder and reducing irritation. It may feel too simple to matter, yet it works because the body thrives on balance, not extremes. Now let's talk about another overlooked factor: prolonged sitting. The modern lifestyle has made sitting the default state for most men. Hours at the desk, behind the wheel, or in front of the television compress blood flow in the pelvic region. Reduced circulation means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reach the prostate. Waste products accumulate, pressure builds, and tissues become more vulnerable to inflammation. Imagine water in a pond with no current. It becomes stagnant, cloudy, and unclean. That's what happens when your pelvic region stays inactive for too long. On the other hand, movement creates flow, just like a stream where water is fresh and constantly renewed. This is why even short breaks of movement during the day make a difference. A 5-minute walk after meals, light stretching between tasks, or standing up regularly when working can reset blood flow and bring relief. You don't need intense workouts to support your prostate. Gentle but consistent activity is enough to keep circulation alive and hormones regulated. What matters is frequency and consistency, not intensity. Think also about what happens at night. Many men believe waking up often to urinate is unavoidable, but the evening routine plays a huge role. Drinking alcohol or caffeinated beverages late in the day irritates the bladder lining and stimulates urine production. Eating heavy, salty foods before bed forces the body to retain fluid, only to release it during the night. This disrupts sleep cycles and leaves men drained in the morning. Changing these habits can transform nights. When evening meals are lighter and fluids are managed wisely, the bladder rests and the body restores itself during deep sleep instead of waking you repeatedly. The bigger picture is clear. Your prostate is not just a passive organ reacting to age. It is a living tissue constantly influenced by your decisions. Every sugary drink, every long sitting session, every late night indulgence sends signals. But so does every healthy choice. Each time you drink water instead of soda, move instead of staying seated, eat fiber-rich foods instead of processed ones, you send a healing message. Over time, these positive instructions reshape the internal environment, calming the gland and restoring balance. Let me give you a mental image to make this stick. Think of your prostate as a thermostat in your home. When habits like poor diet, inactivity, and late night stimulants pile up, they push the thermostat higher, signaling the gland to stay enlarged. But when healthier patterns dominate, the thermostat lowers, and the gland settles back into its natural state. You hold the controls through your daily actions. No pill or supplement can match the impact of consistent small choices. Some men may wonder, isn't it too late if I already have symptoms? The answer is no. Even if your prostate has been under pressure for years, improvements are still possible. Cells respond to new signals no matter your age. Just like a neglected garden can come alive again with water and care, your prostate can also recover balance with steady adjustments. Progress may be gradual, but every step reduces strain, increases comfort, and enhances overall vitality. This is why awareness is so powerful. Most men never realize how closely their daily rhythm is tied to their prostate health. They accept discomfort as inevitable when in reality it is changeable. By exposing the hidden trigger, poor habits repeated over time, we gain the power to interrupt the cycle. From there, healing begins. And once you feel the difference, motivation grows. Restful nights, stronger energy, and renewed confidence remind you that you are not powerless. You are, in fact, the greatest influence over your own well-being. So ask yourself, what small step can you take today? Can you replace one processed meal with fresh, whole foods? Can you stand up every hour for a quick stretch? Can you reduce sugary drinks or avoid alcohol late at night? These are not overwhelming demands. They are small, practical adjustments anyone can begin. Each step sends a message of healing, each choice calms the hidden trigger, and together they build a new foundation for your health. Your body is designed to respond to care. It's never too late, and no change is too small. The real question is not whether your prostate can improve, but whether you are willing to give it the signals it has been waiting for. There is something many men do not realize about prostate health. It doesn't decline overnight. The signals begin silently long before symptoms appear. The body whispers before it shouts, and those whispers are easy to miss if you don't know what to look for. The first signs often feel too small to matter. Maybe taking slightly longer to empty the bladder, or noticing a subtle difference in flow strength. These may be brushed off as random, but in truth, they're your body's way of calling attention to an imbalance that has been building for years. Think about how your daily life unfolds. The foods you choose, the hours you spend sitting, the level of stress you carry, and the way you sleep, they are like bricks stacked one by one. At first, the wall seems harmless, but with time it grows higher, and eventually it blocks the smooth function of your prostate and urinary system. Most men only recognize the wall once it is tall enough to interfere with daily comfort. But the wall was not built in a day, it was built brick by brick through routine. The good news is that walls built over years can also be taken down one brick at a time, with new choices. One major brick in this wall is stress. Chronic stress is rarely discussed in connection with prostate health, yet it plays a large role. When you live under constant tension, your body releases stress hormones such as cortisol. Elevated cortisol disrupts testosterone balance, weakens the immune system, and increases inflammation. Together, these effects create fertile ground for prostate growth and irritation. Think of cortisol as a silent fuel feeding an unwanted fire. Over time, the fire spreads until it reaches the point where symptoms show up in daily life. But just as stress builds pressure, relaxation and mindful practices cool it down. Men who regularly engage in deep breathing, meditation, prayer, or simply quiet reflection lower cortisol levels, bringing hormonal balance back in their favor. Another overlooked factor is the type of fat consumed in the diet. Healthy fats act like medicine, supporting cell membranes and reducing inflammation, while unhealthy fats do the opposite. Diets high in fried foods, processed oils, and heavy saturated fats from poor quality sources trigger inflammation. That inflammation doesn't stay isolated. It flows through the bloodstream, reaching the prostate and irritating its tissue. Over time, the gland reacts by enlarging, just like skin swells when it's irritated. By contrast, fats from sources like olive oil, nuts, avocados, and fatty fish deliver omega-3s that soothe the body and protect against unnecessary growth. Choosing the right kind of fat is like choosing whether to fuel the fire or pour water on it. We should also address protein quality. Many men rely heavily on red meat, processed meats, or fast food options. While protein is essential, the source matters. Processed meats contain nitrates and other chemicals that burden the body with toxins, which the liver must work overtime to remove. If the liver is strained, it cannot regulate hormones effectively, and that imbalance directly affects the prostate. Shifting toward lean proteins like fish, chicken, beans, and legumes reduces this toxic load and supports a healthier hormonal environment. Again, it is not about deprivation but redirection, choosing fuel that sustains instead of damages. Now let's talk about hydration, because it plays a far greater role than most men realize. Dehydration thickens the blood, making circulation sluggish. It also concentrates urine, irritating the bladder and increasing the frequency of nighttime trips. Men who drink too little water often mistake their symptoms for prostate-only issues when in fact dehydration magnifies them. Drinking enough pure water throughout the day not only supports kidney and bladder function, but also keeps tissues, including the prostate, calm and less reactive. Something as simple as keeping a glass of water near you and sipping consistently can reduce strain in ways that medications often try to mimic. Beyond physical habits, relationships and emotional health also matter. Loneliness, unresolved anger, or emotional isolation create internal stress that quietly affects hormone levels and immune strength. The body is not separate from the mind. Men who nurture friendships, share openly, or find purpose in service to others often show stronger resilience physically. Their prostate health benefits indirectly because their whole system is calmer and more balanced. This may sound intangible, but science confirms the connection between emotional well-being and physical function. Healing begins when the mind and body work in harmony. Consider this: your body is always working to heal itself. Cells regenerate, tissues repair, and hormones seek balance. But when habits continually send the wrong signals, the healing process becomes overwhelmed. The body doesn't stop trying, but it cannot overcome constant opposition. Imagine a gardener watering a plant faithfully, but each day also pouring a bit of salt into the soil. The plant struggles not because water is absent, but because the environment is poisoned. Remove the salt, and suddenly the same water produces flourishing growth. In the same way, your body responds when damaging patterns are replaced with supportive ones. This is why small, steady improvements matter more than extreme measures. A crash diet or a short burst of exercise may give temporary results, but long-term relief comes from daily rhythm. The prostate doesn't need shock treatment, it needs consistent signals of safety, balance, and nourishment. Each time you choose whole foods, move your body, drink water, manage stress, and nurture your spirit, you are sending those signals. Over weeks and months, they accumulate into visible change. The message here is simple but profound. You are not powerless against prostate issues. Age does not write the final script, your habits do. Symptoms are not punishments but feedback, guiding you toward better choices. And the moment you listen to that feedback, you step into the driver's seat of your health journey. So as you think about your own life, reflect on the daily bricks you've been stacking. Are they building a wall that traps you, or are they creating a pathway toward freedom? You hold the power to choose, and no matter how high the wall may seem right now, it can be taken down one brick at a time beginning today. One of the most eye-opening truths about prostate health is how much control still lies in your hands, no matter your age. Men often assume that once the prostate begins to enlarge, decline is automatic. They think medication or surgery is the only path forward. But in reality, your prostate is responsive to your lifestyle right up until the later years of life. This means that what you choose today can either stop, or even reverse some of the challenges you've been facing. That's why knowledge is so powerful. Once you see the hidden patterns behind your symptoms, you gain the ability to rewrite the story. Let's focus first on the role of hormones because they sit at the center of prostate changes. Testosterone naturally declines with age, but what many men don't realize is that it isn't the decline itself that creates problems. It's how that decline is handled by the body. Some of the testosterone that remains gets converted into estrogen or into a stronger hormone called dihydrotestosterone DHT. Both can push the prostate to grow. This conversion process is influenced heavily by lifestyle choices. A diet high in sugar and processed foods accelerates these conversions, while a nutrient-rich diet slows them down. Stress, lack of movement, and poor sleep further tilt the balance toward unwanted hormone activity. Now imagine adjusting these levers. By improving nutrition, reducing stress, and restoring better sleep, you guide your hormones back toward balance. Instead of the gland constantly receiving signals, it begins to calm. That's why some men experience dramatic improvement simply by cleaning up their diet, staying active, and managing stress. The body responds to better instructions because it is always seeking balance. Another hidden piece of the puzzle is inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is like a background hum that never turns off. It exhausts the immune system and keeps tissues irritated. The prostate, sitting at the center of urinary function, feels this irritation strongly. Foods high in refined carbs, processed oils, and chemical additives all feed inflammation. On the other hand, foods rich in antioxidants, Vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and herbs act like natural extinguishers, cooling the fire inside the body. Something as simple as adding more greens and berries to your daily meals can lower inflammation markers, and over time, this reduces the burden on the prostate. Movement plays its own powerful role. Men often think exercise must be intense to matter, but when it comes to prostate health, consistency outweighs intensity. Gentle, regular movement, walking, stretching, light strength training keeps blood flowing, reduces insulin resistance, and balances hormones. Think of circulation as a cleansing river. When the river flows smoothly, waste is carried away and tissues are nourished. When it stagnates, toxins accumulate and pressure builds. This is exactly what happens in the pelvic region when sitting dominates your day. By choosing to move regularly, you restore the river, keeping your prostate in a healthier environment. Even sleep has a direct impact. Deep, restorative rest is when the body resets hormone levels, repairs tissues, and lowers inflammation. Poor sleep, whether from late night eating, too much screen time, or stress, disrupts this reset. Men who sacrifice sleep night after night unknowingly sabotage their prostate's ability to recover. By protecting your evening routine, shutting off screens earlier, eating lighter dinners, creating a calm environment, you give your body the chance to restore balance while you rest. It may feel small, but it's one of the most powerful steps you can take. Let's not forget hydration. Many men underestimate how much water matters. Adequate hydration keeps urine diluted, which soothes the bladder and prevents irritation that makes prostate symptoms worse. It also supports kidney function and circulation. Dehydration, on the other hand, concentrates waste, increases urgency, and amplifies discomfort. Simply drinking enough water, not soda, not alcohol, but clean water, throughout the day creates a calmer system overall. It's also important to address the emotional side of healing. Many men carry unspoken stress, unresolved anger, or hidden worries. These emotions quietly elevate stress hormones, which then affect the prostate. Finding ways to release them, whether through prayer, journaling, conversation, or counseling, brings relief not only to the mind but also to the body. Peace within reflects as balance in your hormones and tissues. Healing is never just physical, it is always whole. Imagine your prostate as a garden. If weeds take over and you ignore them, they spread until they choke the plants. But if you regularly tend the soil, water properly, and remove weeds, the garden flourishes. The weeds in this case are poor habits, processed foods, inactivity, late-night stimulants, dehydration, and unmanaged stress. The tending is your daily commitment to healthier patterns. Over time, the difference is dramatic. Where there was once struggle, there is balance. Where there was frustration, there is relief. This perspective shifts everything. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of aging, you begin to see yourself as a participant in healing. Your choices become tools. Your daily rhythm becomes medicine. And your prostate, instead of being a source of constant frustration, can settle into its natural role without dominating your life. So where do you begin? You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Start small. Swap one processed snack for a fresh fruit. Take a short walk after dinner. Drink an extra glass of water in the morning. Protect your sleep by turning off screens earlier. Practice 5 minutes of deep breathing to calm stress. These may sound too simple, but they send powerful signals to your body. With each step, you shift the internal environment in favor of healing. And here is the truth you must hold on to: it is never too late. Even if you've lived decades with habits that burden your prostate, your body will respond once you make better choices. Every man has the capacity to influence his own health story. You don't need perfection, only consistency. What matters is the direction you're moving in, not how far you've already come. Each new choice builds momentum, and over time, that momentum transforms your experience.